Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly Home Edition. Well, we made it to September, and of course September means school, but what does school even mean anymore? We know there's lots of changes happening this fall. School starts next week officially for Chesapeake Public Schools, and leadership has been working throughout the summer to figure out the best, safest, most efficient way to conduct school for all the kids in our city. And they've come up with some very good solutions. And we wanted to hear some of the details, so we went to Richie Babb, who works in communications for Chesapeake Public Schools. Here's what he had to say about what school's going to look like this fall. Richie Babb with Chesapeake Public Schools, thank you so much for being here. I know you guys have not really had your summer break yet, have you?
No, and we're really not anticipating one, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane.
Run out of time at this point.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can't go anywhere anyway. Where am I going?
Yeah, good point.
Right.
You haven't even left that room. I know. That's the only place I ever see them.
Right.
Same. So if somebody has their kid in school, they're likely, hopefully, somewhat aware of what's going on. But for people who don't, give us a quick rundown of how the schools are going to be functioning come September 8th.
Yeah, so some time ago, we gave parents a choice of option one, which is I want my kid to go back to school. Now, that is on a continuum based on the metrics and the virus and how widespread it is and all that kind of stuff. And that the people who chose that knew that they would be on a continuum, either temporarily online, which is how we're starting, up to maybe the next move would be to be in schools a couple days a week and work from home the other days. Or, and our goal is to get all the people who want to come back to school back in school 5 days a week, just like the old days. So that's option one. Option two was to join Chesapeake Online, which is a full-time online academy. Teachers applied for those positions, and so those students will be doing that. We are we have a school health advisory board that's made up of people from Chesapeake Regional Healthcare, CHKD, of course, our educational experts, and our local health department. And they're meeting regularly to try to advise when is a good time for us to at least start getting kids back to school. Now, there are some high priority populations like students with special needs and really very young students to try to maybe in small groups get some of those high priority students back in very small groups earlier. But parents will get a 2-week notice of when we start to move back in.
Okay. So kids are either going to be, there's kind of sort of two groups. You're either going to be in the, I want to be in the school building whenever it's safe to do so.
Correct.
Or you elected to be distance virtual learning until reevaluation of that happens,
if you made that decision, really either option that you took that's in place till February.
Okay.
At the end of the first semester.
Gotcha.
So, and we don't anticipate really that Chesapeake Online will go away. That may be an option for students just going forward to do that. And honestly, we know the younger students need, that social interaction, and they need the modeling and they need a safe place. I mean, there are some kids that need that safe place to go. So they're a high priority, but some of our older students, middle school and high school students, really function better at home working on their computer. I mean, not all, and certainly they don't, most of our kids do want to come back to school though.
Yeah, I'm sure. I want to go back to school. And
I know, right? Oh, and our teachers want to go back to school. I mean, our teachers miss their kids. I mean, that's what they're all about. So it's definitely been a challenging time for everybody.
So at the very least, people who are commuting every day the positive side, we're not going to get that back to school traffic hitting on day one.
That's right. That's right.
So Richie, we joked a little bit about you guys never having a summer break, but you have been following this since like day one back in March. I mean,
back in March. Yeah.
what kind of planning goes into figuring this out? Like, there's a lot of voices and a lot of rules, and how'd you go about
Yeah.
it?
I can't tell you. No, just kidding. Actually, no, it's a secret. No, it's not a secret. As you might imagine, I mean, we have to plan for every eventuality.
Yeah.
You have the transportation planning. You have the how are we going to keep the students physically distanced? Where are we putting hand sanitizers? How are we arranging classrooms? Uh, what are we going to do with school nutrition? How are we going to where we're going to feed kids because we can't let them gather in big groups. So it's just been an amazing amount. And then on top of that is the instructional plan because teachers had to be prepared to come back on and teach online, which is what we're doing, and for the eventuality they could be back in their classrooms. So the amount of planning, and we're not done. I mean, it seems like some new thing comes up every day, and we're addressing that and planning for that. But just an immense amount of planning from every because it's almost like our whole school system did business in one way, and then in one day you don't do business like that anymore.
Yeah. And
You
I'm
know,
sure for so many teachers, it's been decades and decades of teaching the same way or having some sort of, year to year resemblance. And
right?
that's all up in the air.
Right, gone.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I even especially feel for our first year teachers
Yeah.
who went to college to be in the classroom working with kids, and then now they're having to start online. But of course, our teachers are very resilient, and because they do love their kids and because they do love being with their kids, they're going to make. I'll say that teachers were caught completely off guard in March,
Yeah.
but we have had time over the summer to do some. Professional development to kind of give teachers some more confidence and some experience
Great.
working with their online stuff. So we don't anticipate that the instruction in the fall online will look like it did in March.
Give us just a little picture of what that actually looks like for the people who don't have a kid and really aren't going to see what virtual learning even looks like. Is it the teacher? Is it like what you and I are doing, or is it written? Like, how does that virtual thing even work?
Well, I tell you, it depends. I mean, a lot of it depends on the teacher because you don't just have teachers. You have librarians, you have speech therapists, you have reading
Oh,
specialists, right? So you have to work all that in. So the idea is that there will be teacher-led sessions like what you and I are doing, where
mhm.
we call it the Brady Bunch screen,
Yeah,
where the teacher's there with her students and his or her students, and so that's definitely a part of it. But there are also times when uh, students will have assignments to complete on their own and submit by a deadline. So it's a combination of those things. But we really expect what the state calls meaningful interaction every day. And that takes several forms. It could be a teacher led meeting. Also, teachers are setting up office hours and making students aware of their office hours so they can arrange virtual meetings, they can call them, they can email. So that's interaction as well, because students will have questions and they need that attention from their teachers. So
sure.
that's available too. It's not like we're on a Brady Bunch moment and then you turn the computer off and that you're done until you turn your paper in.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of moving parts to that.
And
But
part of that meaningful interaction piece is really interesting to me because I know, my kids in daycare, thank goodness I'm not having to deal with this yet, but on the days when I am working from home and I have to have that 3-year-old in the house, it is chaos. And I know that's what a lot of the parents are worried about right now. How do I help especially the younger kids? How
right.
do I help them when I'm supposed to be working? But that meaningful engagement really is going to be the key to helping parents fit it around their schedules.
Right. Correct. Yeah, that's right. Because we know there are going to be times if you've got three kids and one computer,
Yeah.
there are going to be times where the student can't actually be at a teacher-led session. Those sessions will be recorded so that students can look at it at another time, and then they'll let their teacher know that they saw it, and that can be verified. So there are lots of different ways and times. We hope our goal is for the students to make every effort to be in that teacher-led session.
Sure.
But there are some other ways, as you said, that meaningful interaction with the teacher. And the state has allowed us, we're using that as an attendance tool as well. It's
Okay.
not like, the teacher's calling the roll necessarily, or maybe
Yeah.
at their teacher-led session, but if they have any of those other meaningful interactions, then they're counted present in that regard as well.
So there's so much going on for parents, for kids, for teachers, for administrators. How can the rest of the community help? Like what, we want to help. What can we do to make this transition easier and successful?
Well, I think and it's really no different from anybody else. I think that some grace and some kindness, some space for parents, especially for employers, to try to be as flexible as possible. If you've got kids that are, that need the IT resources, and the other thing I would say is, be on the lookout for people in your community that look like that they are in need, that they may be having some troubles. There are lots of community resources. There are a lot of things set up to help, and encourage them to get help, to reach out. In the past, when kids, their kids are going to school or whatever, it's easy to, but make the effort. I would say to make the effort to reach out. I think at this time we all could stand a little bit of indulgence and forbearance, and grace. So that would be my advice: to be on the lookout, to really be actively caring for the people that you see and that you're in touch with.
Well, that's definitely what we're trying to push here now too. Chesapeake cares. Chesapeake is the city that cares, and now is the time for us to really show that, especially if it means helping our kids out. So,
Right, for sure.
Richie Bab, thank you so much. Thank you and everybody you work with for all the time that you've put into figuring this out. We're going to be keeping a close eye on it, and we're going to keep helping you out throughout the school year. So we're going to get through it.
Sounds good. We absolutely are. I hear people say that we're going to get through it. Well, yeah, obviously we're going to get through it, but we need to get through it well.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Chesapeake Public Schools, we're going to get through that well.
That's right.
Well, I don't write taglines.
Yeah, let's rework that. Let's think about it.
We'll rework it. It's fine. Richie, thank you so much. We'll talk
to
again.
Sure thing, Liz. Thank you very much.
I love his suggestions on how we can all best help out during this time, and just a great reminder. It really is all about just being kind to people. So that was a great reminder, but there's other ways that you can directly help schools. First off, you can donate funds to the Chesapeake Public Schools Education Foundation. They're able to put those funds right where they're needed most, so that's a great option. And even though students aren't going to be in the classrooms right off the bat, they still need school supplies, especially for working at home. So the CPS Family and Engagement Center is hosting a supply drive where all you have to do is drop these items off at the YMCA location nearest to you, and they'll get them out to the kids who need them most. And also, dovetailing off of something that Richie alluded to when I was chatting with him, lots of our Chesapeake kids are going to be at home with supportive, helpful parents, guardians, friends, caretakers, whoever is helping them through this at-home schooling. And while it's going to be hard for everyone, they're going to be in a safe space. And unfortunately, that's not the case for every child. When we take away that guaranteed weekday interaction with trustworthy adults, the concern does come up that, are we going to know child abuse? Are we going to know when neglect is happening at home? And that's something that the Human Services Department is really taking a look at, and they're getting innovative and creative for how they can make sure that they're still providing the help needed to kids who may not have the most supportive home life. So Karen Myers recently did an episode of A Closer Look at Home, and she spoke with Nadia Howell, Chief of Child Protective Services, on how staying at home could affect reports of child abuse.
What is older youth abuse, and how is it different from youth abuse in general?
We deal with our older youth abuse. We're talking about a age group of adolescents. That age group will focus on 12 to 17 years old.
Now, are you seeing more of these cases because of COVID-19, say, for instance, because more of this age group and children in general are at home and not in school?
Unfortunately, we're not. Child abuse in general right now is significantly underreported. And when we look at reports for our older youth abuse, our teenagers, they're even more underreported. For example, we have teens that are home with their parents due to increased responsibilities. We have decreased supervision at home. We have teens that are no longer with their coaches and their after school friends or with their other hobbies with children out in the community. At this time, our children are practicing social distancing, the majority of them, and they're at home trying to deal with this serious situation that we're faced to deal with COVID-19. However, that means our youth aren't around our mandated reporters. They're not around our teachers. They're not around those relatives that often call the child abuse reporting hotline for concerns of abuse and neglect.
So the low numbers doesn't mean it's not happening. It means those children, unfortunately, are just not in an environment around those, like you just said, that would be the ones to report that abuse.
Oh, correct. It definitely does not mean that it's not happening. When you have this kind of epidemic that's going on, we're looking at concerns where we have increased stress within our households. So we have parents that are working 2 jobs. We have more economic hardships. We have significant concerns with childcare and parents trying to work at home and deal with financial hardships. And we all have a lot of domestic issues with relationships right now due to the stress.
Absolutely.
So statistically, with increased stress is increased incidence of abuse and neglect of children, unfortunately.
So now more than ever before, it's important that we as a community make sure our kids are safe and cared for. If you have any concerns over the health or well-being of a child, contact Chesapeake Child Abuse Reporting Hotline at 757-382-2020. You can also call Child Protective Services at 800-552-7096. A couple other numbers for you to have on hand that you should be aware of. Adult Protective Services, 800-832-3858. And for family violence, you can text 804-793-999, or you can call 800-838-8238. So just some good numbers to keep on hand just in case. Well, we've got a trash update for you. The city's bulk waste collection program is back to normal. They are now, again, accepting requests. So if you've got bulk waste that you want to put out at the curb, you can call or go online to make that request. We do anticipate that we'll still have high volumes of waste. So please continue to have patience. And if your items aren't collected on your collection day, just leave them there. Crews will be around soon. So just remember, we are now back to normal with you having to call or go online to make a request. You can do that by calling 382-2489 or go online to cityofchesapeake.net/bulk. And as you know by now, contact tracing is a critical tool in our fight against COVID-19. So contact tracing is when we determine who's been in contact with someone who has tested positive. And as there is for everything, there's an app for that. The COVID Wise app is now available for download in Google Play or the iPhone App Store. It uses Bluetooth low energy technology to quickly notify users who have likely been exposed so that you can reduce the risk of infection for your family and friends. So find that COVID Wise app and download it today. And now for some real good news. In this week's Chesapeake Cares story, we meet a group of endlessly dedicated community members who work all throughout the year to make sure the kids in our community have what they need. Take a look.
Split chicken breasts. And they're gonna get a whole. I'm not gonna split them up. I'm gonna give them all 3.
This is our monthly mobile pantry, which we partner with the food bank to bring in fresh items into our community. We've seen more of a need through the pandemic with families and grandparents especially, and the kids. Right now, this is one of our initiatives, the mobile pantry. But since March, Buffalo Family and Friends have been feeding 250 kids a day and also been providing 150 seniors with grocery bags monthly.
Why am I volunteering today? Well, I'm the 55 Plus coordinator for the city of Chesapeake, and I just like coming out here and helping the community, doing my best.
I think he's trying to keep some of the boxes in case and the lids in case.
Yeah, if they're real nasty, just throw them over this way and I'll break them down.
Okay.
Here with the tomatoes, we're doing 15 per bag.
And we're, of course, taking all the mushy ones and tossing them to the side.
And what will you do with the rest of the food? How else will it be distributed?
Hopefully we'll manage to give all of it out today, but if not, we have several people here that know people who can't make it out with facilities, and we'll take it over to them.
Tell me why you came out today.
Because I'm the mom of Nischelle Buffalow. I ain't had no other choice.
For real, but your family's been doing so much for so long. Why do this too?
Because we know it's a need, especially for our seniors. So we have to do our seniors. They number one. And then our kids.
Oh, I think the service is beautiful and it's really helpful to the neighborhood. And I come out here to get stuff for myself, and I like to pick up something for my neighbors too that don't get out, as well. They have, problems with getting out and around. So I just like doing for other people and myself, and I think this is just outstanding, beautiful.
Yet another amazing story, another display of just how much Chesapeake is the city that cares. Thank you so much to everyone involved in that. So before we go, just a quick reminder that we are officially in the busiest month of the year when it comes to hurricane season. So if you don't already know your evacuation zone, if you don't already have a plan, if you don't already have your emergency kit ready, what are you waiting for? Now is the time. So you should know what your evacuation zone is. You should know where you'll go in the event an evacuation is called, which, by the way, could be as easy as going to a friend's house across town. Plus, your emergency kit should be ready and filled with all the essentials. So find your evacuation zone at knowyourzoneva.org and learn all about how to build a kit at ready.gov/kit. Well, that's all we've got for this week. Just a reminder, city facilities will be closed on Monday, September 7th for Labor Day. So I hope you can all enjoy a 3-day weekend. And then we'll see you right back here next week in the city that cares.